Hello everyone and welcome to Guild Wars Players News, the podcast where we take a look at Guild Wars game series news and talk about content on our site, Guild Wars Players. I'm Sithrith, and today we have Draculetta.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
And Thelros.
C.
Oh, okay.
Oh, mixing it up this week.
Oh, jeez. Okay. But I don't know how to respond to yes. What am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to say to that?
Yes.
No.
That works too.
Okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, this week, we don't have a ton of news, but we do have some news, which is better than no news, maybe. Drac, you want to talk about this first-person camera thing that kind of got leaked today?
Sure, yeah, this was like a whole ordeal going on today about this. This was apparently under some embargo, and a few sites in Europe posted about it anyway, so then everybody could post about it. And I actually seen it first over from the fine folks over at Massively Overpowered. They broke the news for me at least, so I thought I would share it with our audience as well. It does look like people have been asking for this for a long time, so it is going to come.
To be honest, I don't know why it's such a big deal that this bit was under embargo, but
I don't know, unless the only thing I'm guessing about that is this is coming March 10th in a patch, so I'm kind of wondering if some other things are included in that patch as well.
I assume this information was gleaned because this week, both at their Seattle office, ArenaNet, and in London, NCSoft had meetings about Guild Wars 2, and they invited a whole bunch of press, including Matt Visual and or Peachy and a whole bunch of other news outlets and stuff. And I know that what they saw is under embargo until the 3rd, so I assume this was part of that. But continue.
Yeah, I would think so. So March 10th, this will take place in the game, actually, and you're going to get a first-person camera. You're going to be able to zoom in all the way to allow players to experience a first-person view. And that mode will be available while you're standing in place, you're walking, you're running, you're jumping, playing PvP, or doing just about anything else that you can think of in the game. You'll be able to do first-person view on. And I know before the show we were talking about this a little bit, and we were all kind of in agreement. We can see this being really useful for screenshots
and video recording.
And yeah, but I don't really know if I would play in a first-person view or not.
No, I wouldn't. But there are also other camera options that are coming with this same update, including, so right now you might notice that the camera kind of aligns to your body mass, kind of above your head. It depends. It's kind of hard to tell, but basically they're adding additional options to where your camera will center, so you'll be able to center it, for example, on your character's head. And so this will change then, obviously, based on what race you are, because if you're an Asura and it centers on where your character's head is, you're going to have a much different view of the world than, say, on your Char or your Norn. There's also going to be more options that let you adjust where the camera is, I guess, manually, it sounds like, based on height and regardless of what your character height is. So that, I think, that's definitely got more regular use than just screenshots.
And also with this, there's going to be something they're calling collusion sensitivity. And when you enable this, the setting's going to adjust how much stuff, be it a wall, be it rocks, be it trees, anything needs to be between the player's character and the camera before the camera kind of snaps in like it does. Mm-hmm. So that might be kind of useful, because I know a lot of the times I'll be running along and there'll be a tree or something, and my camera tends to want to focus in on that, and it zooms in on that way before I get to it. Mm-hmm. So, and I don't know, maybe that might help jumping puzzles too, maybe?
Yeah, that's true.
Possibly?
Because, when you're jumping around and it's something kind of gets in between you and your camera jumps forward, it can be really disorienting, and it's totally problematic. It's also bad for recording videos and trying to make them look really nice. Because you'll be running along and all of a sudden a tree gets in your way and suddenly, I am way too close to the
in front of the tree. So if you want to get a sneak peek of what this is going to look like during tomorrow's Ready Up live stream, which will take place on Guild Wars official Twitch channel, it's going to be tomorrow at noon Pacific, which is 3 p.m. Eastern. Other time zones, you do the math to figure out what time that is. But they are going to show this off on the Ready Up stream tomorrow. And once again, thanks to the folks over at Massively Overpowered for the scoop on this.
Woo! So also this week, they announced a app challenge, and basically what this is using Overwolf, which is a kind of overlay software creation company. They're having this challenge for developers to use the game's API and make little overlays. They've had challenges like this in the past. They have a video, and I put it in the article that I talked about this in on the site, of different apps that won in the past. So there's one that lets you mark up the map and denote different areas that you want to siege for World v. World, and then you can share the map with other people who have the app. And so that's pretty cool. There's one that lets you put markers on literally anything, like little UI markers. So if you want to click on a rock, you can be like, okay, put a marker there, and anybody, I guess, else who has that app can also see that rock. And so that could be useful for World v. World as well, or, really organized PvE, I guess. So there's really cool stuff. And the one that was my favorite was a world boss timer that you could see in-game. Much better than having to alt-tab and look at other monitors and all that stuff. So they're having another one of these challenges. The deadline for an app is March 15th. Or not March. May? I don't remember. One of those M months. It's on the site. I think it must be May, because I know there was 80 days or something. So you have that much time, and also in the article I posted a link to a whole big list on the Guild Wars 2 wiki of all the apps that currently exist, which I did not know that there were. There are so many! So I might have to try some of them. And the best part about this is if you're a developer and you're interested in this, there's a ton of prizes available, a lot of money. I think the grand prize is $4,000 US, so that's a lot. So if you're interested in that, get on it. And even if you aren't a developer, there's actually a suggestions form. So if you have an idea for something you would like to see in an app, there is a forum where you can leave a suggestion for people to turn into apps, and you get to participate a little bit. So that's pretty cool. So Draculetta, what is on sale this week?
There is not a whole lot that I see new to the gem store. The Chickenado finisher is available. Of course, that sounds just like what it is. A swirling whirlwind of chaotic chickens will kill your downed foe.
Chaotic chickens.
So, who doesn't want chaotic chickens?
Undead
really.
Chickens. Is it undead chickens, or is it just regular chickens?
I haven't seen anything, and some of the videos I've seen didn't look like they were undead chickens.
Oh, okay.
But that would be amazing if they were undead chickens.
Chickenado?
Oh, that would be amazing. ArenaNet, make that happen. I will buy that if you make that happen. Heck, I'll even start the PvP if you make undead chickens. That would be awesome. Also in the gem store this week is Lord Farron's Rapier. Yeah, as I said in the article, the only thing I could think of when I seen the picture that ArenaNet posted for this was the line from Princess Bride.
Yeah, I've seen other people having similar sentiments.
Really? Well, good. I'm glad I'm not the only one, because that literally just popped into my head. So.
Mm. Oh, yeah, of course it did.
Yeah, that reference that Ethelros
that reference that Ethelros didn't get right. Oh, poor Ethelros. So yeah, and I looked in-game today at the store, and I didn't see anything that we haven't previously talked about that was new to the store. So that should be it, unless I missed anything.
I don't think so. There's been some data mining stuff going on this week, but we don't really talk about that on this show usually.
Yeah, I've seen all that. And
we usually just wait till it's actually in the game, because who knows what they're going to do with it. But yeah, pretty quiet week. But like I said, they did have a whole bunch of people come to their offices in both Seattle and London, so that probably means a lot of news in the coming weeks. So yay for that. Yeah, so on to our site news. This week, we had our very, very first Adventures in Tyria, which is this show that we also do, and it's going to be a weekly show just like this, but it is a vidcast, which is like a video podcast, YouTube series type of thing. It's on the Players Alliance Network YouTube channel, and of course, there's links and articles about it on our site, guildwarsplayers.com. And basically the idea for this is every Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern, we get in game. We do whatever kind of content we feel like doing. And Atharos, what did we do this week?
This week we, after I think we mentioned before about how Drac was having problems with some of his personal story missions, we decided to meet up with Frivolous and Floating as well to do some of those up until the final Titan fight. I'm finding that, I don't know what's happening, but the choices that we made during this part of the personal story apparently were a lot easier than the ones that Drac chose.
Apparently,
Drac just has
I
to be
chose
difficult.
wrong.
You chose poorly, Drac.
Apparently, I did.
Yeah, but with the 5 of us, it was not bad at all, I don't think. We did die a little bit, but I think part of that was because we were just mucking about and talking a lot. So, that happens.
Because we were all on the boat.
It's because we were on a boat. So yeah, if you are interested in joining us, we are on the North America region servers. So unfortunately, if you're on an EU server, can't really join us. But everybody else on NA servers, just let us know. Message one of us in game, and depending on how many people we have and what we're doing, come and join us. We do different stuff every week. So yay! And Drac, this week you have another Sounds of Tyria.
I do, and this week I decided that we would leave Prophecies for a while and head over into Factions. Of course, Factions is the second campaign that was released for the original Guild Wars, and it came out a year after the original Guild Wars Prophecies came out. And it takes place on a small southern continent of Canthia that is separated from Tyria by a very vast ocean, and that does play in a lot into the storyline. And if you listen to the song I picked, which is the Xing Monastery, you can really tell how there's a lot of Asian Oriental type influence in this whole campaign, even down to the soundtrack. So, and this I think would be one of it's not my favorite song off the Faction soundtrack, but it's up there. So you can take a listen to it and tell me what you think about it.
Cool. Thanks, Drac. This week's community video spotlight is called PvP for Beginners, the 3 8s. And this is from an awesomely named YouTube channel, Super Mega Happy Fun Time Guild. And their logo is a pink unicorn. So that's cool. And this video, basically, since I've been doing so much PvP lately, this seemed relevant to me anyway. And basically, it covers the 3 8s, as they call it, and that is Initiate, Communicate, and Rotate. And these are some 3 strategies for new people who are new to PvP and kind of go in and are like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do here? How do I deal with these people? Like, what am I supposed to do? Watch this video. It'll definitely give you some really good strategy tips and how to kind of start maneuvering in the world of PvP. And this week's weekly outfit is from Tosaf, and Tosaf sent us in the Sylvari Ranger, who is in all the Tier 1 medium Sylvari cultural armor. And dyes used are Evergreen, Hydrangea, and Sunset. And they are some Mordremoth themed colors. And the bow skin that this ranger uses is the Mordrim longbow skin, and so it looks very cool. Very kind of oranges and bright light blues, and it just looks really cool. Very Mordrim-vari. So if you want to send us your pictures of your character, speaking of, actually, I forgot, I didn't make an article about it because it wasn't that big of a deal, but I do want to mention this in the outfit section of the show because it is hyper relevant to this. This week we did get a little bit of a patch, and in it, they enabled us to see and preview all of the dyes, even if we don't have them unlocked yet, in the dye panel. So if you open up your dye panel, you'll see a whole bunch of dyes that you didn't previously have, but they have a little lock over them. That means you don't have it yet, but you can still preview it, see how it looks on your armor. And I wasted at least an hour looking at dyes, because obviously... So, yeah, that's really cool. And so I expect to see some really cool looking outfits now that people can, like, see what dyes they might want. So please send me your outfits at contact@guildwarsplayers.com with the subject line weekly outfit. And yeah, dyes are awesome. So you should send me your character pictures. Now for the lore book, where we take a look at a place, character, race, or artifact and examine the lore surrounding it and why it's important to our gameplay. This week I'm going to be talking about Ore. So, ore is a really big deal in Guild Wars 2 because it's kind of the epicenter of our personal story. It's where our personal story kind of culminates and comes to a close. It's the climax of the personal story. Basically, ore was where the human gods arrived from the mists and made their city Ara. And so it has a lot of magic, associated with it. It's very magical. It was the first human kingdom in Tyria. And unfortunately, Zaitan sleeps under ore, or was asleep under ore, rather. Historically speaking, Ore and Ascalon for a long time were ruled under the same king, and so they were kind of like one kingdom. And then Ore became independent 2 years after the exodus of the gods. And so, they were kind of just living without their gods, but everything was pretty peaceful, and it was just kind of, whatever. But then in 1071 AE, the Char, as you know, were kind of running around trying to kill all the humans, because that's what they do. And Vizier Kilbron decided to enact some dark magic in an attempt to defeat the oncoming Char. And that worked. But much like the Foe Fire, it also had some other consequences. And the consequences for Ore was that it sank. All of Ore just went down. It was underwater. And so that kind of sucked. And so then that whole area turned into a big ocean, and so it was nothing but ocean between Tyria and Cantha. But then, in 1219, Zaitan woke up. And waking up, he rose Ore from the depths. This created a huge tidal wave, and it flooded Lion's Arch, and who knows what else it did to other continents like Cantha and Alona and stuff. So that's kind of where we're at. That's why Lion's Arch, although before the events of the Living Story Season 1 in Guild Wars 2, Lion's Arch was pretty well established. It was originally a much more traditional human city, and then after the flooding, pirates kind of turned it into a piratey town, and so that's why Lion's Arch is kind of a more diverse city than, for example, Holbrick, or the Black Citadel, or Divinity's Reach, etc., etc. So, additionally, Traherne, who you meet in the personal story in Guild Wars 2, his Wild Hunt, which is the task that is given to Sylvari, some Sylvari, I guess, in the dream, his Wild Hunt is to cleanse Ore. So he spent basically his entire life in Ore, researching the Risen, researching Zaitan, and that's why he becomes the Pact Marshal. This is a lot more obvious if you play Sylvari. If you don't, Traherne apparently just kind of shows up and is just like, I will do this! And just like, what? Oh, okay, I guess that's happening. So that's Ore, and it's pretty freaky in-game because, it's been raised from the depths of the ocean, so there's lots of corals and sea creature-y things, and also zombies.
Pretty much everything there is risen.
There's even chickens that are risen.
Yeah.
Risen sea urchins. Risen everything. So, Tharos, what have you been up to this week in-game?
Not too much, aside from obviously the Adventures in Tyria thing we did. I did a little bit of world completion in Wildy World that I was able to do. Picked up a few points of interest and such like that. I'm down to just 3 points of interest and 3 vistas in Wildy World areas. Assuming the faction change I think is happening tonight works in my favor, I can actually get them done, and I can look into maybe starting an alt. If not, then I'm going to have a really hard time getting those because they're in the red faction area, and they're not easy to get to otherwise.
What kind of alt do you think you're going to make?
I'm probably going to sell on Char, because I think, as I mentioned before, humans are kind of boring, Norns I just find kind of ugly, and they run weird. Their whole animations are kind of, I don't know, bulky.
Mm-hmm.
I know, yes, they're meant to be, but yeah. The Sura I just don't like.
Right.
Because they're arrogant little squares.
Hey now!
I also read a bit of Sea of Sorrows because my internet cut out a few days ago. So I spent that time reading some of Sea of Sorrows because that's the one book I hadn't finished yet.
Is this the part where we complain about Sea of Sorrows?
Yeah, we can do that.
Oh, I hate this book. The first 2 books were really good, but this one I just can't stand, which was really disappointing.
It felt kind of like a retread of the previous ones, so they have the human befriending the Char in a weird circumstance, even though they shouldn't be allies. They have the Asura that pops out of nowhere, and there's an arrogant little, as I said, script. And then just Kabaya Mariner is
So obnoxious.
The worst. He is the worst.
Also,
and the annoying thing too is he gets away with everything.
Yeah, everybody's just like, oh, that Kobaya, he's just, oh, him. Like, it's just, ugh. Or like, he
Honestly,
falls in love with this chick, and it's like, it's so, like, stereotype movie, like, oh, they see each other, and like, oh, they fight, but oh, they're so in love, and it's just so stupid.
Yeah. And then, like, anyone who happens to not like him is automatically a villain.
Yeah.
Because why would you not like him? He's a hero. He's the protagonist. I really didn't like it.
Yeah, I still haven't finished it. The other problem with that book is there are no Sylvaris in it, because Sylvari don't exist yet. So that's obviously a glaring flaw. Why would I ever read a book that takes place in Guild Wars 2 universe that doesn't have Sylvari? That's just silly.
Of course. Overall, I'd say, actually, I think maybe the first book is possibly the best. I think it had a more interesting storyline for the most part, maybe because I already know stuff about the other Destiny's Edge. I think the only problem I had with the first book was a certain plot twist that happens at the end that I found immersion breaking, I suppose. But yeah, aside from that, I think that was the best one, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. The second book was good, I think, because it provided that extra little bit of information that they keep from you in the game. Like, they don't really talk about what happens to Snaff in the game. It's just like, oh, well, he's dead because somebody made a mistake or did something. And then this book gives that more concrete answer to what.
I just think the first one had more believable interactions between the races, especially the Charan humans.
Yeah, definitely. So, Drac, what did you do this week?
Well, it started out last Friday night. Sithrith and I were guests on a video cast called Twitch stream type thing, whatever you want to call it, called MMO Anthropology. And it was a pretty good time. We ended up running basically just world bosses in between talking about the game and different aspects of the game. And I ended up talking about the original Guild Wars a lot for some reason. I'm not sure how that happened, but it seems like I was talking about Guild Wars a lot. But yeah, we ran the Shadow Behemoth, the Frozen Maw, and the Mega Destroyer. And then after that, I did finish up my personal story, thanks to everybody that helped out during our first episode of Adventures in Tyria. And so now I'm ready to go ahead and do Zaitan, so we'll have to do that at some point. And that, of course, was on my Ranger, who is basically my main character. And I was looking on the trading post for a new bow, because I thought, well, maybe I need a little better bow. I mean, I have a nice bow now, but I thought there's got to be some different bows I can use. And yeah, I found out I am broker than what I thought I was.
Well, okay, so I saw this in the show notes, but I think if you look at the top tier level 80 weapons, like, yeah, it's redonkulous, because they're like...
Yeah, it is.
The legendaries are like thousands and thousands of gold. That's not... But if you keep scrolling down, like if you sort it by level and you keep scrolling down the like whole big list of level 80 bows, you'll find something that's better than... You'll probably find something that's got better stats than what you have, but is still affordable. Just don't look at legendaries, because that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think that's my problem. Was I was looking at all the legendaries and I'm like,
from what I
can't even imagine having that much gold ever.
From what I remember when I was browsing, it was around, I think, maybe 3 to 5 gold for rares, and then like maybe upwards of 15 for exotics.
Depending on the exotic, yeah. Some of them can be up to like 100 some gold. Some of them are like, just a couple gold. Yep.
So that was my Ranger. Then, of course, I played my Necro, got her from level 45 to level 50, got her through the personal story. Then I also got my Ellie from 45 to 52, also through the personal story as well. So now I am just making my way to 60 to start doing the next part of the story.
Nice.
What about you, Sithith? What have you been up to this week?
I've been up to a whole lot, mostly necromancer related, which is at this point unsurprising. Although, if you go back and listen to the first few episodes of the show, very surprising. So this week I got my Necromancer from level 47 to 65, and that's pretty much just an entirely, that's all credit to doing PvP and getting a ton of Tomes of Knowledge. So that happened. Nearly 20 levels in a week is kind of insane. But like I said, Tomes of Knowledge. I also got one of those login rewards where you get like 4 Tomes of Knowledge, so that definitely helped as well. And also for my Necromancer, I finally made the exotic focus spirit links through the Mystic Forge. I had been trying to save up all the crafting materials for that. That's one of those exotics that's like 100 some gold. When I made it, at first I was like, I should see how much this is on the trading post. And it was like 120 gold when I looked. And I was like, do I really want it this much? Or do I want 120 gold?
Yeah, exactly.
But I kept it. And unlocked the skin for it. And so my Necromancer's level 60 whatever focus he has right now has the Spirit Link skin. And the focus itself is ready for when he hits level 80, which at this rate is pretty soon. And on top of that, since I had the nice looking focus that I wanted, I went and I got Kaith's Bloom Dagger skin in the gem store. So he looks really awesome now, and I love my Necromancer. So since I got those 2 really cool cosmetic weapon things sorted, I was like, I really want to make Maudry. And if you don't know what Maudry is, you've probably seen it in-game. It is a back piece skin, and it's also a back piece that has like stats and stuff. But it's this back piece that it looks like there's these, it's not the black tentacles, but it looks like this weird little glowing purple vine with thorns that kind of comes out in little tiny glowy tentacle bits are like kind of up near your head and stuff, and it looks really, really cool, and it matches my Necromancer. And I was like, I really want to make this, because it looks really cool, and I started looking into how to make it, and nope. There is so much work involved. It is basically like making like a legendary weapon. Like there's so many levels of like, oh, you have to get all this stuff to make this one item, and then times that by like 4, and you put all of that in the Mystic Forge, and then you have to do that 4 more times and make a whole bunch of other stuff and put all that in the Mystic Forge, and it's just, it just goes on forever, and I was just like, no, I'm not, no. So that's what I did in game. And, so finally, we talked about this a couple episodes ago, and then we said we were going to do it at episode 10, but then we forgot. But Draculetta is going to be telling the Felicia Day GenCon story.
I am. I know we have been teasing this for a while, and it actually came up, how this came about is
yeah.
Friday night during when Sithrith and I were on the MMO Anthropology show. Of course, the obsession that I have with Felicia Day was brought up. Thanks, Sithrith, by the way, for that.
I didn't do that. That was the people from MMO Anthropology, because you brought out your Zoja mini. It's not my fault.
Oh, that's right. I thought I was going to blame it on you, but I guess it was them.
Don't blame this.
So one of them kind of joked, oh, is there a convention and a hotel story involved with this? And I was like, maybe. So I said, I will save it for the show. So here we go.
Oh, boy.
Is everybody ready for this? It's going to be good.
I don't know if I'm ready for this.
Gather round, boys and girls. Here we go.
Oh,
A couple years ago, I was at GenCon, and Felicia Day was one of the media guests of honor there. And I waited in line forever to talk to her and get her autograph and get her picture taken with her and yada yada and all that. And at the time, I had a cell phone cover that had Buffy the Vampire Slayer on it, but it was like from the comic book Buffy, and I laid my phone down once I got up to talk to Felicia, and she saw that Buffy, and of course, you may or may not know that the final season of Buffy, Felicia Day was actually on that show. She was one of the potential slayers.
Oh, I did not know that.
That came on the show, and I had joked with her, and I said, yeah, you are always my favorite potential slayer. And she laughed about that, and we talked about Buffy a little bit. So fast forward about 45 minutes into the day, I am walking through, I was going to go to one of my game events, and I'm walking through a hotel lobby, and I walk around a corner to go towards the elevators, and I see somebody falling, and I just saw them from behind, so I couldn't tell who they were, if they were male or female. I just see somebody about to fall, so I ran up, and I caught him, and I looked down, and it's Felicia Day. So I'm standing in a hallway in a hotel lobby by an elevator with Felicia Day in my arms, and she's like, "Hey, you're the Buffy dude. I remember you."
Oh, God, Drake.
So yeah, so there is my Felicia Day, and that pretty much sealed my obsession for life. Because I can literally say Felicia Day did fall for me.
Oh my God. How long did it take for you to think that up? That line. That closing line.
A long time! I've been waiting a long time to use that line.
And I think it's more like she fell on you.
You're welcome.
Oh, God.
You're welcome. Best episode of this podcast ever, right here. Because of Felicia Day. Yep.
What if she comes on the show?
Nah, no, we won't talk about that.
Okay.
I'll be like,
Drac will just not actually be
won't
on the show.
talk. Yeah. I'll just be gone that week and just sit and listen. That's all. I'm telling you, my obsession knows no bounds. I've told you this
Obviously.
Before. Nobody believes me.
Anyway,
yes.
Anyway.
You're welcome, everybody. You're
Oh,
welcome.
God. On to Guild Wars 2 Academy, where we answer questions sent in by new players looking to learn more about the game. And this week, the question we got was from Twitter, and the question is, what are fractals, and how do they work? And so, fractals are kind of a interesting version of dungeons. Basically, one fractal run-through has 4 fractals in it. Like, people describe them as mini dungeons, basically. There's a whole bunch of different ones that you can get, and every time you enter a fractal, your starting one is randomized, and whatever, obviously, first one you go to depends on the next 3 that you have. So, it's like 4 little mini dungeons inside one big instance. They're pretty cool. And the thing with fractals is that they have difficulty levels. Now, dungeons, like regular dungeons, have difficulty levels too. For example, there's story, and then there's the explorable paths. However, fractals have a lot more difficulty levels. So, for example, I think it's the lowest level is 1, and then there's higher levels. But I think it goes up to 50, maybe. And before you start, the leader of the group picks what difficulty level of fractals you're going to work with. And so, even if everybody is a higher level, you can do lower level ones. And when I say if everybody is higher level ones, what I mean is every time you do a fractal, that kind of counts as fractal experience, and everybody has their own fractal level of difficulty. So, for example, if you haven't done any fractals, your fractal difficulty level is automatically 1 because you haven't done any. So yeah, as you do higher difficulty fractals, they get more difficult, obviously, but there's also this debuff called Agony that starts to take into effect at higher levels. And so, obviously, when you start getting to these higher levels, you're going to need armor that counteracts that Agony. And so when you do lower level fractals, you get these like glob things that you could put onto armor that give you agony resistance, and so you kind of work up to doing these more difficult fractals. So that's why you often see a lot of people doing a whole bunch of fractal runs, because they're working up their levels, they're trying to get more agony resistance so they can do more difficult ones, and obviously more difficult ones give you higher, better loot. So that's fractals. At a really basic level, I probably said something wrong, maybe. I've only done fractals once, and I kind of got run through really quickly, so it all happened really very fast, which isn't great when you're a new player. But that is fractals at a basic level, and I'm sure someone will comment and give more information and more detailed information in the show notes or something. So this week we did not receive any Patreon mentions, but we would love your support, and if you would like to help support Guild Wars players, simply go to our donation page and support the Players Alliance Network on Patreon. You can get a mention on the show, or you can even be a guest on this show. And this week we did not receive any reviews, at least last I checked. And we didn't really get any featured comments this week either. We got some comments, but not any super lengthy ones, so we didn't really feature any. But if you would like to contact us, for example, if you have a question that you would like answered in Guild Wars 2 Academy, please send it on in. You can contact us at podcast@guildwarsplayers.com, or you can tweet us at GWPlayers, whichever is easier for you. You can follow all of us on Twitter. The Players Alliance Network is at Players Ally on Twitter. I'm at Sithrith. Draculetta is at Draculetta_72. Ethelros is at Ethelros. And you can contact us in-game as well. I'm Sithrith.6741, Draculetta is Draculetta.7410, and Ethelros is Ethelros.3164. Players Alliance Network has a whole bunch of live shows. Mondays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern is DDO Players News. Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern is this show, Guild Wars Players News. And Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern is Lotro Players News. You can get to all these live shows from guildwarsplayers.com/live. And again, Adventures in Tyria is Saturdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Contact us in-game, and depending on what we're doing, you can join us. So, thank you all very, very much for listening. And this is Sithrith reminding you to look before you leap.